Good afternoon on what is a warm, bright and sunny day. It is Thursday the 9th of May and I'm in the reading up with a nice hot cup of tea and a parcel to continue unboxing in what I'm going to call, Mothership Monday, because I am going to continue unboxing this, which is the Mothership Deluxe box set. Now, I've already done a general unboxing of this, just to show you what's in here, and I'm going to look at sort of like some of the individual titles in here as I work my way through the different books. So, that's the companion. I'm not going to do one for the screen or anything like that, or the cardboard standees. It's the books that I'm particularly interested in. So let's delve down to that and we get to Mothership Sci-Fi Horror Game Player's Survival Guide. Now this is the new edition, this is the actual first edition, because remember what we've been playing with for the past few years is essentially an ashcan edition, a pre-edition, or edition 0 perhaps, of this rulebook, and this is all we've had with which to play. So it's proven itself to be surprisingly adaptable and sturdy, because there have been a lot of excellent scenarios and supplements for it over the years, fanzines and so on. Look at Desert Moon and Calf, or the more recent Tide World of Manny, which is actually for this edition. And it's proven to be sort of like the premier kind of little science fiction horror role-playing game, blue-collar science fiction horror role-playing game, that are sort of like sits adjacent in tone and feel to their old school Renaissance. It's not OSR itself, but it has that sensibility. So we open up, and what we've got, the first little table is you've got weapons and armour, and the strangeness of the naked lurking thing there, some kind of horror. Possibly lurks in the background. Is that scenery? Is that something there? And there is a content warning, because this is a horror book. Mothership is a horror role game for mature audience. It contains violence, foul language, some sexual content, drug use, and depictions of mental illness, trauma, stress, and panic that may not be suitable for all audience. Please be advised. So, almost movie-like. And we have a guide to making your character. Now, one of the great things about the original version of this book was you had this superb, absolutely superb kind of flow chart for you making your characters. That's gone. That's really, that's missing. It was there in the back, but you do have this step-by-step guide here, and it's not going to be any more complex or difficult either way. There aren't going to be really that much in the way of radical changes. You've still got 4 stats, you've still got character types, classes, so Marines, Androids, Scientists, and Teamsters, really playing into the core roles of the blue-collar science fiction horror genre, as seen in films like Alien, Aliens, and Outland. I mean, that literally covers all four of those genres in just 3 films. And then we have the credit section on credits, and that's on money, not who wrote the book. And then we've got loadouts, the lists of equipment, possible trinkets you might have that aren't worth anything except essentially for their sentimental value, lists of equipment, including pets in the corner down there, table of pets, firearms, big bulky affairs. I always like it when a science fiction role-playing game includes images of the weapons that you can arm yourself with. Not necessarily because I'm particularly keen on guns as such, but because they add verisimilitude to the setting. What kind of weapon is being pointed at me, or what kind of weapon am I pointing at someone else, for example? It just adds that little bit of weight and oomph, I suppose, to play. Then you've got a breakdown of the armour through sort of like this really kind of heavy illustration. And then we've got a section on safety instructions. I mean, almost this is the survival guide. This is the manual for the player. So you've got, player safety instructions, how to be a great player, how to play this game, and then player supplies checklist, things that the player will need. So a copy of this book, character sheet, tokens, pen and paper, and of course some dice. Must forget that. Stat checks and saves and so on. How they work in the game. This is this is something that the player character will want to read. But at the same time, the game master will also, or warden will want to read as well. And then, so you can suffer stress in the game. So how do you gain stress? Well, stress is essentially every time you fail a stat save, from different encounters, especially if they warrant it. You've got basically means to relieve stress, mechanically that is. And what happens when you get to a panic check? This is the equivalent of the fear check, the sanity save, that sort of thing. And then you have a table for those various effects, depending upon the severity of the panic attack. Skills and how to use them, whether or not you are skilled, unskilled, expert, and master. Generally, you'll start off with basically being trained at least in one skill. You may be, trained in one skill, expert on another, and so on. How to gain skills training. And then we get on to violent encounters, how to handle combat, attack and defense. What do I do when you're having a fight? How does damage affect me? How does armor and cover protect me? And what are wounds and how do I suffer them? And you've got basically a table of possible wounds there as well. And what happens when I die? There's a section on death. And then range and distance for your combat. And then general survival rules dealing with things like exhaustion, atmospheres, cryosickness, oxygens, sickness or lack of it, radiation, all the sort of things that you encounter in environmental effects you encounter in outer space. And then we've got an example of play. Always like a good example of play. As I've said before, the rules will tell you how it's done. The example of play will show you how it's done. And that includes both handling the rules and how to role play within the setting. And then we get on to sort of like more about the setting itself in terms of ports of call, and the types that you can stop at, and what you can do there in terms of shore leave. That's one way of relieving stress. And then we have contractor stats. So basically, here are the NPCs that are going to give you your player characters their jobs. They're going to be the patrons, as it were, employers. And then you've got a big table of those. You can work with those, improve loyalty, equipment contractors. So these are actually contractees, I think, more than contractors. So you've got a table of those. You can have those operating alongside you and work with them, hiring them, improving their loyalty, equip them, and so on. And essentially, who controls the contractor? The contractors are generally controlled by the players who hire them, by any player who doesn't have a player character present in that scene currently. So there's a bit of troop play. And the other reason you can have contractors is they can be replacement characters, and basically they can be upgraded a bit to the status of player characters. So here we are at the end. We've actually got the step-by-step process of creating character built into the character sheet. So there is a bit of a flow chart here, but it's not as good as the original one. It's not basically as fun as the original one, I don't think. And there you've got a full list of all the skills and so on. And classifying them, essentially, here you've got a list of all the skills that each of the classes has access to. And then on the back, you've got essentially how to play Mothership, stat checks, saves, panic checks, and so on. Rules for skills, advantage, disadvantage, and criticals. There we are, basically for quick reference. And handling damage, wounds, armor recovered, death, and so on. Ranges for when you actually get into a violent situation. So you can have a copy of that on the table and literally just have that sat there with all the players have access to that. Players can have their own copies, of course, and they won't be, that'll be useful throughout the game. So that's Mothership Sci-Fi Horror RPG, the Player's Survival Guide, the new edition, essentially the first edition for Mothership. Well, I hope you enjoyed this unboxing and look. If you did, then please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings of the Nook, where you'll see me out here with a box, which in this case is containing another box, which I will unbox and reveal a source book or supplement, or in this case, the Player's Survival Guide for Mothership, a sci-fi horror roleplay game, which I will talk about to the best of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing of the Nook, and we'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.